everyone. So this next thing is not for the Magix Marketplace, though I will be selling them. And I will be posting them on my author page and my Instagram, maybe my author website too, but they're not marketplace items. It's more due to the fact that with the chance of mandatory masking at schools happening, I want to make sure I have masks for my students that don't come to school with masks, because I know it's going to happen. And what's more is I'm making not just adult size masks, but I'm also making kid size masks. And because I know elastic and stuff is so hard to find right now, these masks require no pattern. All you will need is a measuring tape, fabric marking pencil, fat quarters, otherwise just quarters of fabric, generally cotton, and then a sewing machine. And then here's where the fun part is. You do not need to use elastic. In fact, for kids masks, I suggest not using it. These kids masks fit kids as small as my little 27-pound 3-year-old. And my mom actually, my 95-pound 4'10" mother, wears a child mask. You do not need elastic. These tie behind the ears. So you can use hem tape. That's the thing I use the most. We could use faux suede cord. Something I've also been using. This works the same as elastic, so if you want one for an adult mask, old tights. This is the same old tights I used to make my Princess Pretty bows. And then you can sew it on, and it's like elastic without elastic. So if you have an old pair of tights that has a run in it, don't throw them away. This is a little 7-inch piece. Put it behind your ear. Immediate elastic. Another really good thing, I don't currently have any, is shoelaces. You can use shoelaces to make the ties. And then another important thing is have a lighter to get those edges from fraying. And then of course you're going to need sewing scissors. Do not use paper scissors for this. All right, so let's get into the steps. Step number 1 is to iron your fat quarter. Now this is an older fat quarter, so it's very wrinkled, but you will need to iron it, make it smooth and easier to work with. Doesn't need to be perfect, but as you can see, this has been in my fabric bin for some time, and it's a little bit wrinkly. You can also buy remnant fabric, that works too. I would suggest buying little pieces of fabric if you're going to make masks. One of these fat quarters makes 2 adult masks and a kid's mask, or you can make 4 kids masks. So depending on the pattern is what I decide. If it's one that I would like a mask out of, I could see an adult using, then I'll make an adult mask out of it too. But like I have some frozen stuff, and so those I will be making kid sized. Or my 3-year-old has a Pete the Cat mask. I have made a dinosaur mask for my 2-year-old nephew. So, as you can see, it's not perfect. Doesn't need to be. I'm going to keep my iron on because there's another step that requires it. Step number 2 is to lay your fabric out. This is where you will need your measuring tape. For an adult size mask, you will measure out 15 inches by 8 inches and mark it with your marking pencil. So I'm going to mark, this is 15, and then I'm going to mark until it gets to 8. These quarters I can make 2 adult masks. I'm going to actually go down to 16 as well. This fabric quarter is actually a little smaller than normal, because normally when I come to this point it will be 7.5 inches, because normally a child's mask is 8 inches by 11 inches. Now this is too small. This is a smaller quarter, so I will leave this spare and put it in my scrap stuff. If it's like 7.5, it's still doable for a mask. This one is not. So now what I'm going to do, now this is definitely helpful, use a straight edge. Thing you're going to do is you're going to fold it in the hamburger way and measure out 2.5 and 5.5 inches across. It's 8 inches across, so 2.5 and 5.5. And then this middle part is going to be the opening for your filter. Now, you can use a coffee filter, actual mask filters, lots of different things will work as a filter. But then you're going to sew a cross up here. An important thing to remember when sewing is that you should find the 1/2 inch seam allowance, because that is pretty standard and that's what this mask uses. But you also should make sure you're back stitching on the ends. All right, time to iron again. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold the seams over like this. Now this is where I try to get it nice and ironed well, because the better you have it ironed at this step, the easier these next few steps get. So you want to make sure it's nice and pressed so that it's nice and flat. It just makes it easier. Now I am not using any steam with my iron, but as it's cotton, feel free to. I'm just currently not. Turn off my iron. It will look like this. There is an opening there, and this is how it's going to look. Next part is setting the ties. Now, I have a piece of hem tape. This is not bias tape, so it doesn't require any sewing, but I have bias tape that I use for this too. You can use scrap material, so like this is from the leftover scraps from this quarter. You can use this to make ties out of. It's whatever you want, you do not need elastic, but what I found to be the easiest is soft hem tape. But shoelaces in a pinch work beautifully, especially for kids ones. You can use shoelaces. So what you're going to do for a kid's mask, you measure out 4 6-inch pieces. For an adult mask, I do 7. You can do more, or you can do whatever fits for what you do. I do 7. So how I do this to make it easier is I take the raw end and I put it at the 7-inch. Then I bring it to the end of my tape, and I take my scissors and I cut. So then there's one of my 7-inch pieces. You will make 4 of them to go in all 4 corners. This is where the lighter comes in handy. So what you will do, just heat the end slightly, just so there's no fraying. Now this is also something I do if my bows are fraying, my Princess Pretty bows. So you never know what kind of random supplies you will need in a craft room. Between my craft room at home and my craft cupboard in my classroom, I have some of the most random things you can think of. Now the next point is going to change based on what you're using. Now, for pretty much everything but the suede cord, you're going to pin it. Now, let's say you're using the tights material. You're just going to have two pieces 7 inches long, and you're going to put it in the corners. But what I'm showing you is how to use hem tape. So what you're going to do is open up these edges, put them inside and you're going to pin that. Like so. So it's on the inside, and do that in all 4 quarters. Now you have all 4 corners pinned. If you are using suede cord, don't put it in until you're about to sew. Pins don't really work because it's so thin. So what I do is I put it in, I sew, backstitch, go till I'm about here, put the other one in, sew, backstitch, and then do the same on the other side. That is what I do for the suede cord. Okay, and now comes the sewing of these other sides. Now, if you notice, I put my pins in that same way again, so if I don't get them out before I sew over them, I'm not likely to break a needle. Now, I still might. I've broken many needles in my life, but it just lessens the chance. The next piece is fairly simple. You're just going to trim the corners as so. Now make sure you do not go over thread line. This is just so it pulls through better. All right, so now we have this. This is where the filter hole really comes in handy. Now I do this, and what I do to fold it over is I just pull on the mask strings. And because I didn't serge it, I've got some little wispy bits. I will trim those now. So next part is the pleats. Now, you don't actually have to measure, but obviously if you look, this is a kid size, this is an adult size, so they will be slightly different. So for a adult size, you're going to start from 1 inch from the either side. So 1 inch from your ties. I'm going to do that, and there will be 2 pleats. So you're going to do one up from the top. All right, so when that's done, you're going to have 2 pleats that look like this. Make sure they're going the same way so it can stretch to open around your face. Now, you're going to sew over these pleats so they stay. Back stitching again. All right guys, I'm so sorry. I actually was trying to film me sewing the pleats, but it didn't work, so, well, we didn't get that. But I'm going to do the same on a child's mask to show how that's different. And then, so, the mask is done. If you look, it ties behind the ears. So I find tying before you put it on to be the easiest. So I put ties in it. before I put it on, and then I adjust from there, is how I wear them. Now, as you can see, this is not tight enough for me. I would have to tighten it up more, but it's really easy to do so, which is something that elastic actually is not as adjustable, and it hurts your ears. This isn't going to hurt your ears. I don't really have any elastic masks because I don't like it. And what I've found is because you can adjust it, it doesn't fog your glasses so much. No fogging, which, I don't know about you, pretty important. Now, you could do more pleats if you want. I only did 2 because you don't need much more than that. But if you look, it's pretty small, pretty unassuming. This is a completed mask. Now, I'll show you what the pleats look like on a child's mask. We have a kid size mask. Now, I'd put this on me, but it won't fit. I probably could get it on me. Like I said, my mom wears the kid size. This is for my 2-year-old nephew who is a preemie and is very tiny. So it can fit, you know, like under 30 pounds, like my daughter and my nephew, or my mom, who's a teeny tiny adult. These actually fit her better. So either one. And again, an adult mask, you're going to measure 15 by 8. For a child mask, you're going to measure 11 by 8 or 11 by 7. Either one works. I've used both. This is how it's going to look. There's a space for a filter up top. And again, do not use elastic for kids because the sizes are so different. This is how they tie on. All right, everybody. I will have up, once I have a bunch done, the ones that are for sale. Again, I am keeping some to either use for myself when we are back in the classroom. I don't know when that will be, but we'll likely have to be masked. And then some of them are like for my nephew or for my daughter, my older daughter. Children under 2 should not wear them per the CDC. So my 1-year-old, who is actually sleeping at my feet right now, they aren't supposed to be masked yet. But if you'd like to know any other ways to customize an easy mask like this, let me know. I'll have all the information in the description, and check out the Magix Marketplace information. Check out my author page if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you all soon.